I'm sorry. You absolutely can. You can take 2019 and apply it here. I mean, did she run an incredible race?
If 2019, if she were running the race she ran in 2019, we would not be having this conversation right now.
We should turn to Laura
I haven't watched this. That's priceless. Talk about misinformation. Low budget.
And welcome to PBS News special live coverage of the 2024 election. I'm Amna Nawaz.
And I'm Jeff Bennett.
And I'm Clinton Jaws. Guys, Happy New Year. This is the last of the election meltdowns. Unless this one does really good, then I'm going to post another one at 1 or 2 o'clock today. The only way to make this video successful is if you watch it. You have to watch it, like, and subscribe. Shout out to YouTube channel Based Life Guru, who did a lot of this work. I'll put a link in the description.
It is important to say we may not know the final result of the presidential election tonight. There's always the potential for challenges to the voting tallies.
Right off the bat.
But before to remind...
They've been sharing some of the statistics that they think shows that Harris could very well be on the pathway to 270. Specifically, they said that there is high Puerto Rican turnout in Philadelphia. That's because of the fact that Donald Trump ended the last few weeks with that racist and sexist Madison Square Garden rally where the comedian made the racist joke about Puerto Ricans. So they believe that high turnout amongst Puerto Ricans could very well help Harris in a city like...
After the Puerto Rican island of garbage, whatever joke at the Madison Square Garden that we heard, it mobilized. And from what we're hearing initially, I think we'll find that Allentown, Reading, which significant Puerto Rican populations found that there was...
Well, at least your mom thinks you're pretty. I know, I used it before.
Higher turnout than expected among those populations.
And to the atmosphere of violence, we need to recognize that this atmosphere of violence that we are contending with is because one of the two candidates for president throughout his entire campaign has invoked violent rhetoric.
That's right.
Right up until the last couple of days.
Just grab it.
And so we are here because a person who used to be president of the United States and should know better and should be about bringing us together, has decided not to do that aggressively.
Let's shift our... It's counted, but in the order that they're counted, it could...
And make any kind of premature declaration?
Yes, I think Republicans were burned, felt burned, some of them.
I love a woman with thin glasses that matches the neck.
By more than burned by what happened in 2020, and we know there's been a huge division in the Republican Party, but I don't think that means that they are comfortable with, certainly with what happened on January the 6th.
Right, but you know, there are some interesting counties here. We are getting some results in. 76% actually of the expected vote in now.
Actually, I get it. She's adorable. Love the pants.
Now from Florida. And one place I want to look is Osceola County. This is one of 3 majority Hispanic counties in the state of Florida.
Well, they were also afraid about the threats to democracy. And we cannot discount the role that is playing in the people's thinking and also reproductive freedom. And so you put those two together, I'll be interested to see if those two issues...
That's what I would run on.
...swamp the sort of dyspepsia in the country about we're on the wrong track. And maybe people think we're on the wrong track because reproductive freedom is in jeopardy and the threats to democracy.
Give me some abortion.
Yeah,
that's what I need.
Harris is
more
35.
Abortion.
Back to you.
Think about how Trump closed this, because it was awful. I mean, those last 10 days, not only that Madison Square Garden event, which got its own, but then the enemy within women, you know, whether they like it or not, votes are rigged. You had all kinds of nonsense of antics around Arnold Palmer and microphones and all kinds of stuff that was such, it affirmed for a lot of people, this is not what we want in office. And I think it was just an awful close for him. And he could do none of that. And he had lack of discipline, and I do think it hurt him in a big way.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this question about how much voters are affected by the kind of language that he uses, and these late in the campaign, and even earlier in the campaign, frankly, harsh rhetoric, ugly language.
That Madison Square Garden rally, though, to use your phrase, really did get liberals mad. And it's interesting because we're living in this universe where the competition for attention is so fierce. But what that insult comic said about Puerto Rico really broke through, Jonathan. And we'll see if the degree of the blowback tonight. But why do you think that resonated?
Look, that Madison Square Garden rally was just a hate fest from beginning to end. And the fact that you had this comic there to say these jokes that were racist, xenophobic, sexist, and that's the beginning of the night. And for that to be part of the closing message, and I'm with Judy, I would like to know how much this language impacts the way people are going into the voting booth, and impacts the way they're thinking about who they want to lead them. I mean, I think that's also why this election is such a stark contrast. Do you want someone who is saying, I'm here for everybody, I want us to work together, or someone who says, there are all these problems and everything's going to hell, and it's that person's fault, that person's fault, that person's fault, and I'm the one who's going to fix it. And none of your proposals don't speak to unity, do not speak to bringing us together. And so, I think
maybe we don't want to be together.
Liberals getting mad, is one thing, but I also think that Madison Square Garden concerned Americans. And let's not put the labels on it, but I do think a lot of Americans looked at that and thought, what the entire hell is happening, if they hadn't been paying attention up until that point.
We will see.
Yeah, I have been out at the polls a lot today. One of the things that you hear over and over again is abortion. I heard that from men. I heard that from women. I've been pretty much exclusively in Philadelphia, but it's really top of mind here. The other thing I've heard, and I was in, sort of Republican areas of the city as well as Democratic areas, the economy was the big one. Those were the two issues that I kept hearing over and over again.
I know that you and the vice president are close. Have you...
Side gig as a clown. She's a performer.
She changed the entire dynamic of politics in this country. What kind of country do we want to live in, Jeff?
A Harris country.
What?
After that. Can we also clarify?
And the fact that despite the things that Donald Trump said on the campaign trail, the things that he's promised on the campaign trail, a lot of things that are concerning to millions of people, and he's still getting more votes than he did the last go-round.
How can it be?
That, to me, is more concerning, what I'm looking at and what I'm most concerned about what I'm about to learn about the American people through this election.
You're not going to like it.
A lot of questions about what's going on and what's going to happen. I have to
underperform by a lot. Even Hillary Clinton in Michigan.
It's still
again,
early, though.
Still many more votes to come in.
How many times can we say abortion in 10 seconds?
Have different ballot measures related to abortion rights tonight on the right to abortion there. Abortion rights.
It was not that long ago. We were talking about who was going to win Florida, how dramatically it has shifted in such a short period of time.
Donald Trump has won the state of Texas with its 40 elected.
What they are breaking.
Well, you know this about me. I'm interested in class.
Campaigns actually matter.
What they are breaking.
Well, you know this about me. I'm interested in.
That Harris is currently overperforming Biden's 2020 margin in those suburban counties.
How would you describe the mood in the room? What are you hearing from campaign officials?
The mood here is very, very positive. I mean, I haven't been able to poll. The news keeps getting better and better.
This key state, 55% of the vote. Trump is up 51 to 48, but we do have some big counties to come in still. And
so, I think he won Texas by certainly more than I expected. So you'd have to say that his strength is bigger than I thought it was. His strength we expected him to gain among Hispanics with some of these numbers out of places like Michigan. His gains among Hispanics are kind of eye-popping if the exit polls are to be believed. So I'd have to say.
Why is this such a shock?
But it would not be a majority that is huge. It would get maybe an 8-seat, or instead of what they have a 4-seat, or a 9-seat instead of a 4-seat, right? So
I feel fine about Michigan, Wisconsin. So. Pennsylvania, we'll see how it goes at the end here.
That's right, Jeff. Jen O'Malley Dillon sent a memo, as votes trickle in the Sun Belt. early vote expectations in Bucks County.
Get it together. Get it together.
And just to pull back the curtain a little bit, Laura, a lot of times when campaigns send those memos to staff that are also shared, how much of that message, based on your reporting and your sourcing,
some clothes
is
on,
spin,
woman.
and how much of that is
God.
you? Are you okay?
No. Keep on asking her questions.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I think I need to get a little
That's okay.
drink of water.
But how much of that, if you so I'll go to our
Kind of hard to figure that one out.
When you get a message like that,
you know, in terms of spin, Jeff, look, the campaign has gotten a little bit more quiet lately than they were earlier in the night. They were all along saying that things were going to be narrow, that the margins were going to be tight. I was texting with Congresswoman Debbie Dingell just a moment ago, a congresswoman from Michigan, who in 2016 had warned about Michigan and Hillary Clinton's chances there. Debbie Dingell said that she was nauseously optimistic still, and that it was going to be tight, but she wasn't worried just yet. And that's kind of the sense that I'm getting from a number of Democrats, those here, those elsewhere.
He'll say something stupid. I mean, you know, one of the Kamala Harris hit him at the end for fascism.
Only idiots vote for him.
And I thought that was not the right way to go at him, because to me, the problem with Donald Trump is not too much order, but too much chaos. Chaos in the United States is a truly terrible thing. And so I thought they should have hit him. He's just out of control chaos. You want chaos on your life every day? You want chaos around the world? Because in my view, the American electorate tends to vote for the candidate they associate with order.
Well,
no, we just want war. That's what we want.
But also the vice president said, you know, he's unhinged, he's erratic.
Because we trust her retard mind.
Why is his strength so durable? And why, with the Democrats, with all the strength they have, why have they been unable to really deliver a blow?
Oprah Winfrey? Who the hell's that? Beyonce? Strength? Reproduction rights? Gooey abortions? We're on the brink of WW3? Can you not figure it out, idiot stick?
With you, Donald Trump has won the state of North Carolina with its 16 electoral
That's why he
votes.
went there 4 times.
And to me, I'm mystified in some ways.
Mystified?
Simply because we're talking about a twice impeached, 4 times indicted, convicted on 34 felony counts former president.
I don't get it.
That's one bucket. Then in another bucket, you have all of the things he's been saying on the campaign trail that gets to the decency that the woman was talking about in that last report, and how she wanted to vote for Vice President Harris because she didn't like that Madison Square Garden rally.
I don't get it.
I am mystified that despite all of that, he's gaining support compared to 2020.
We're done with
and
you.
And it gets back to something I said earlier at some point, one of the hours ago, that who are we as a country?
Fighters, not weak, awake. That's who we are.
Right now, I'm not sure. I like it.
Well, Judy, this is
at a minuscule portion of the population, and I think this gets to my bigger issue.
What's that?
That hammering away at transgender people, promising a mass deportation plan without talking about how are you going to distinguish between who's here legally and who's here illegally.
Pretty
the
easy.
disruption
Are you
and
criminal or
chaos
non-criminal?
that he is promising for the country is
It's called getting police, idiot.
Stultifying. And that's why
you run their names,
really,
you dummy.
I am mystified by why we are here. Not saying that anything has happened and that the race has been called or anything. But again, we're about to find out about half the country is down with this.
Way more.
And Democrats have put forward the people Democrats have chosen to put those arguments forward haven't made the sale. Yet. We don't know what's going to happen tonight.
Fast forward to the current moment, you cannot draw a through line to the message that he is trying to convey to the American people. It was objectively dark and undisciplined.
Because I think this conversation seems to be drifting into she lost and let's diagnose and do an autopsy on.
We are nowhere near that right
exactly.
now. We
are
not even close.
Correct. We are nowhere
not
near
even
that.
Close.
And so I think the vice president has run a fantastic campaigin, given that it's just been 107 days and what she's been able to do in that time.
So much.
I find it interesting that the YouTube world is dominated by conservative voices, Trump voices, which gets to a point I wanted to.
You're on YouTube.
make, which is in terms of people getting their news, there's a whole right-wing echo chamber that amplifies all of the misinformation and disinformation that's going out there.
Not you guys.
To the American people. And
you guys
Fox
tell the
News,
truth.
the cable channel,
The abuse, the violence.
number one cable channel in the country by multiples. When I look at my ratings for my show on MSNBC,
you got a
I don't
show?
even bother to see if I beat Fox. I look to see if I beat CNN because Fox is way out ahead.
What does that
and that's
tell
where
you?
a lot where people are getting their news. And I also think that I wondered if, people would be unwilling to tell pollsters that they didn't want to vote for a woman and didn't want to vote for a black woman.
We just wanted
in
a
South Asian
Oh,
woman.
here we go.
And so again,
we just wanted a
this is
smart
why
woman,
I'm
not a
looking
dumb
at
one.
this, because we can't just say that, her economic message wasn't right, or
Rackism.
she didn't speak to this particular constituency about fill in the blank issue.
She didn't even go on Joe Rogan. She just talked about abortions.
Could it be that the country still has an issue with a woman in the top job in the nation, if not the world?
Oh, he's melting down.
Even though our allies and a lot of our peers have had women leaders.
Judy.
Tulsi Gabbard would have won.
Kamala Harris had been chosen. Would she have run a different campaign? She ran to the, it's not run. This election's not over. She has run a campaign to the middle. She has not emphasized her gender, her race. She is, in fact, just kind of jumps over those questions when they've come up. She's
a test case for the Harris campaign, and it was 2019.
And it was 2019.
And there's not very much there that made us think this would be a tremendous national candidate who would be able to, even win a Democratic primary if Joe Biden had dropped out earlier. And now I think what we've seen with some of the numbers here tonight and some of the underperformance is just how real that test case applied at a national scale in a general.
I don't think that's.
I don't cover that.
What are you talking about?
I don't think that's an. I don't think that's an.
That's not apples and apples.
Yeah.
I mean, also because remember in 2020, but in
primaries make you stronger, and she didn't go through primary.
Stop it.
Well, fine, but again, she got out of the race because anyone paying attention to that race, as long as Joe Biden was in the race, he was going to take the base of the party, and that's African American voters. And so she looked at the handwriting on the wall and got out. But you can't use you cannot use her failed run in 2019 and hold her against her after watching this incredible campaign she's run now. If she was such a disaster,
is it incredible?
So incredible,
Kevin. If she was such a disaster, if she was such a disaster,
is it incredible?
But Kevin, if she was such a disaster,
and can you not take it? I mean, you absolutely can. You can take 2019 and apply it here. I mean, did she run an incredible race?
If 2019, if she were running the race she ran in 2019, we would not be having this conversation right now.
We should turn to Laura Brown.
I haven't watched this. That's priceless. Talk about misinformation. This might be the reason people watch YouTube.
If she were running the race she ran in 2019, we would not be having this conversation right now.
We should turn to Laura Barone-Lopez. She is actually with the Harris.
We're here at Howard University, and the
How's it
crowd
going down there?
has quieted a little bit as the night has gone on. But every time they see a state called for Harris, they roar back to life. At one point, they did call for the DJ to start playing rather than listening to some of the results come in. But the crowd is still going here as they hold out hope that Harris can succeed by winning the blue wall states as well as Nevada. Right now, I was texting with a Democratic House member in Nevada who is extremely confident that Harris will win Nevada.
She's got Nevada.
They're really looking to that western state, to the Latinos in that state, which are different than the Latinos on the eastern, in the eastern states. And again,
actually, this is said Richmond, a former senior advisor to President Biden.
Tonight,
now
we're gonna count all
Good
votes.
evening, Howard.
Hello, Howard. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight?
So you won't hear from the vice president tonight?
Damn.
people started to stream out.
Have some more water. Oh, good Lord.
Laura, we're going to give you, let us know if you need to step away for a drink of water
Put
again.
on some clothes.
In the meantime, what else can you share with us about, as you mentioned, some of the crowd thinning out over the last hour or so? Has there been a shift from what you can tell among supporters there?
What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, the mood, Amna, is one that is very anxious and nervous.
They're leaving.
Supporters are still holding out hope that the blue wall is going to come through for Harris.
They're going
that
home.
Nevada will come through for Harris. But again, they are really upset that it's coming down to this narrow pathway.
Well, they'll get over it.
For the vice president.
The past,
it must be
where
cold
Harris
in that
is
studio.
compared to the past. Hold on, let me get the right button.
We'll see how the outcomes of this go. I look to the House and the Senate. Trend lines are not great right now for Democrats, but hopefully, things could turn.
What the pen is for.
Wrestling with the Trump presidency with House and the Senate, which is one possibility, to be clear. There could be a number of other possibilities, but
I want to be clear here.
The amount of disruption that is we're on the cusp of is not imagined at that point. If you got that much power and that authority.
Well, she's sort of got to run the table, and she's behind in all the states right now. So she'd have to catch up and go ahead in all those states.
So I went to the New York Times map, and they've got this neat little feature that shows shift from 2020. And I wish I could show it to the audience, but the red that is on this map is what's sobering.
Yeah.
Given everything I've said over the last 5 hours.
Have a drink.
I do think that this race is always going to be close. That the vice president's path, even though they were hoping maybe North Carolina, maybe Georgia, that it was always going to be through the blue wall states. So
I knew it.
The fact that we don't have those results, and she's told folks to go home, is not surprising to me. But assumptions are being challenged in this election. And this map here says to me that no matter what happens in this election, no matter who wins, we as a nation have to have a conversation about why this map looks the way it is. And I hear all the things about economics and populism and things like that, but we also have to factor in some social issues that could also be at play. Why they voted the way they voted. And I'm not sure if people are willing to be as honest as I would like them to be.
I'm being pretty
to
honest.
Talk about why this shift is happening.
Because we're weak,
so broadly,
and we need to be strong, and we want to get rid of the war.
I'm seeing it over Jonathan's shoulder. It's very red.
How could they be so confused?
We don't know the result yet. We're still waiting for these states to come in. I'm already thinking about
your neck
unifying the country. To what extent? And were people asked in the exit polls, who do you think will do a better job of bringing us together? I know that's been asked by pollsters for the last few years.
Not abortion.
And in most cases, the Democrat would win that by some margin. But half of the country, or almost half the country,
way more than
is going to be unhappy with this result. What does that look like? What is the leader,
lots of tears,
whoever it is, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, what are they going to say to the American people about that? Are they even going to address it? So I'm already thinking, what happens to the country? What happens to people who didn't vote for the winner? Where do we go from here?
And Harris is up by 2 points. How does that compare?
It's an election, people, okay? It's just an election. Settle down.
Compare historically?
You take it back in another 4 years.
Fox has called Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. The Associated Press, however, says that several 100,000 ballots are left to be counted, and a flip is still possible. Give us a sense of what's happening in the room and bring us up to speed on your reporting.
If you had gone to me 45 seconds ago when Fox News made that call, I wouldn't have been able to hear a single word you said.
No kidding.
Because this room erupted with as loud of a cheer, a raucous.
Maybe I'll find that for you.
We are now projecting that Donald J. Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania. Former President Donald J. Trump. decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
To say that we know definitely what the outcome will be, but had hoped that it'd be a little bit cleaner at this point about the House.
Is that a thumbnail?
And, you know, if you were playing that game that everyone always be a little bit cleaner at this point about the House, and had hoped that it'd be a little bit cleaner at this point about the House.
Dirty.
And, you know, if you were playing that game that everyone always likes to talk about of, would you rather be us or them? You know, right now, obviously, you'd rather be Trump.
We should reiterate here that only Fox has called
Just
Pennsylvania
Fox.
for former President
They
Trump.
mean
The
nothing.
Associated Press
Nobody
has not.
listens to
Therefore,
Fox,
we
right?
have not. No other network has. But when you look at the blue wall.
Maybe that answers your question there, little daddy. Maybe that's why people watch Fox. Because they get it right.
Prevailing wind, which I hope shifts. I mean, she has to win the blue wall. And it is my fervent hope that Fox, that call by the other network, is
what?
It's 1:30 in the morning. I can't even think anymore. But it is my hope that the AP will flip that.
Fox was premature.
That Fox was premature, and
What do they
that
know?
she hangs on.
And what, that Democrats are up 1 and overall, but they're probably going to lose at least one Michigan, if not 2, and so that will even it back out. And
if your team lost, your instinct is to start blaming the voters. And it's always useful to, in my view, the voters are not always wise, but they're usually sensible. They know their own lives.
Blame Harris?
They make sensible calls.
So as you can see behind me, Jeff, the yard, which is where the election night event for Harris had been set up, has entirely cleared out because after Cedric Richmond said that the vice president was not going to be speaking tonight.
The Harris campaign certainly believes that they have maybe the most infinitesimal chance, but a chance still that they could eke out some
That's
final
what you're telling me.
victory.
Well, I expected Trump to declare victory tonight, no matter what.
Yeah, at 10:30.
But I didn't expect that he'd have some cause to do so. And so, but we're in the normal Trump world where, you know, I think a normal candidate would wait for all the networks to endorse, but he doesn't play by those kind of rules. So
Go eat a dick.
it's welcome to the future.
Jonathan?
Well, you know, I come to elections with a sense of humility simply because, you know, polls don't vote, people vote. And so in elections, we finally get to hear what the American people have to say. And I've come to this election with an open mind, and I want to know what the American people have to say. What was it, 6 hours ago, I was mystified by what was going on.
It was 2 hours ago.
And now I can't help but think that if this election seems to be, if it proves out that the millions of people who are watching Fox News, if that ends up being the case, then
change your thinking.
I can't help but wonder if the American people have given up on democracy.
Go eat a big dick.
Simply because I'm looking over your shoulder. You know, right now, Donald Trump has 51.2% of total votes. 51.2.
Judy, which is better than he had in the previous two. Was it 48%? Is that right?
Last time a Republican got 50.
Just a couple things. Number one, this is not where we thought we would be. We all, I think, many of us.
Oh, that's another good thumbnail right there.
Many of us thought this election could go on for a day or 2 or 3 longer.
Months.
As David.
Amy Walter, is there any place where Kamala Harris is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020?
I was just trying to look at that.
Can't seem to find anything.
When I look at, and again, I'm not going into this county level data, just looking at every one of the states.
And as you're looking, I should say, we have the live shot up of the podium there because we expect Donald Trump to come out and address his supporters literally any minute now.
Just to see that, you know, this looks a lot more like what we saw in 2016 than what we saw in 2020 in terms of states that we consider pretty blue. New Hampshire, Minnesota, you know, Virginia, places that Biden won by really big numbers that you kind of assumed would follow suit if at the very beginning of this conversation when David was talking about blues getting bluer and reds getting redder. But in this case, there wasn't enough of the blue getting bluer, even in blue states.
Oh, here we go.
He is.
Donald J. Trump, First Lady Melania Trump.
As Donald Trump takes the stage there, we can now report that the AP has called the state of Pennsylvania for former President Donald Trump. He's taken the stage there with his wife, with his son Barron. The Associated Press has called Pennsylvania, which now brings Mr.'s first term. He implemented and oversaw what has to be one of the darkest chapters in modern American history, and that was separating children from their parents forcibly for the purpose of separation as a deterrence. So I'm not, Jonathan?
I'm not as optimistic about these natural limits that David's talking about. To William's point, I'm part of the other half of the country who's shocked, given all of the things that Kevin said. But to be honest, there's also a part of me that's not shocked. I mean, for a lot of people, this will be 2016 all over again. And for me, it's not. Because I lived through the 4 years of Trump's administration.
How'd you do it?
I remember what that was like.
What was it like?
And
terrible.
I just have to say that this is a sobering moment for me as an African American because this is a sobering moment for me as an African American because things that he said on the campaign trail about giving power to police to do all sorts of things that would loop me in potentially to being have an encounter with the police that I didn't ask for.
Oh, good
as a gay American,
Lord. Oh,
I'm concerned.
I didn't know
because that's super.
I didn't know he was gay.
As a gay American, I'm concerned because that's the conservative supermajority on the court, particularly Justice Thomas, in his concurrence with the Dobbs decision, said, you know what, we should go after Obergefell. Which legalized same-sex marriage. So my marriage is on the line.
You're married.
As a journalist, I'm concerned because just 2 days ago, he talked about how I've got this piece of glass in front of me, and so if someone wants to shoot me, they have to shoot through the press, and that might not be so bad. But also as an American, I'm concerned because of
you can take my marriage away.
What we've done to help the people of Ukraine. What President Biden has tried to do in bringing a resolution to the Israel-Hamas war.
Let's help us.
America's standing in the world. Our role in NATO, in the Western Alliance, being the bulwark of democracy.
Oh, you're killing me here.
All of those things are now on the line. If indeed he is declared the next president of the United States.
Judy, we heard William, of course, reminding us about the many things we've heard from former President Trump over the years, this idea that he's emulated or showed admiration for dictators, has hinted that he'd like to emulate them, as well as former chief of staff
he's a Nazi.
Called him a fascist. We talk about democracy and what it took to uphold democracy on January 6th and the days after. And how are you looking at this question right now in terms of what a second Trump presidency would mean?
I think with eyes wide open, I'm listening to what each one of you is saying tonight. I do want to understand better what the voters were saying. I mean, to David's point, I really want to dig in and understand, and not just by reading and looking at the exit polls, but I
know what we're thinking.
I will continue to go around the country, understand from people
Talk to 5 people if you don't know.
With this vote, what are your expectations of him?
Talk to the other side.
He's made some enormous promises.
Take you
he
2
says
minutes.
He's going to make.
Guys, that's it. No more. Thanks for watching, man. Let's kick butt this year. Let's hope for a great year. I wasn't a fan of 2024, but I'm looking forward to 2025. Bye-bye.